So we're going through the halachic poetry of the 7th chapter of Nedarim. We're going through these pairs of Mishnayot. These are Mishnayot which are mirror images, one of the other. And interestingly, the pair that we're going to deal with today seems to deal with a fruit tree and a wife, as if the Mishnah is comparing one to the other. I mean, in the Torah, I think in the Parsha of Ki Teitzei, the Torah compares a man, a human being, to a tree. It's clear that human beings and trees are sort of close in some sense. We'll see when we read next week's Parsha, Isaac goes out in the field among the trees when he wants to pray. There's something about trees that are very close to humans, and we're going to see that in this pair of Mishnayot. But we're going to start with the tree. Kunam perot ha'elu alai. So he says, these fruits, he's being very specific. These fruits are like a korban. Kunam is code word for korban. They're like a korban for me. Or he says, kunam hem lefi. Maybe they're like a korban for my mouth. Or kunam hem al pi. Kunam, they are on my mouth. Different ways of expressing, but it's the same idea. Essentially, he's making a vow on these fruits. And it seems to be, the commentators disagree on exactly what is going on in this Mishnah, but it seems that the language of these is specific, and it applies not only to these fruits, but to anything that comes out of these fruits. So, for example, if he sells these fruits for other fruits, or if he grows fruits from them, so maybe, I don't know, it's an apple. Maybe he plants the apple and he grows an apple tree. Then what he sells the apple and he gets a pear. Whatever he sells it for, whatever he grows from, is forbidden as well. In other words, if he's very specific in this language, perot ha'elu, these fruits, it seems to apply to all of its derivatives. And if he uses a slightly different language, so he says, the word kunam is implied now. Kunam sheni ochel. Kunam if I eat. Now, the word kunam isn't printed in the Mishnah. It's just sheni ochel, which is sheni is short for she'ani ochel. So he's saying I vow that I won't eat this food, or I won't taste this food. Sheni to'em. So he's being even more specific there, because he's only forbidding himself from the eating process or the tasting process. He's actually not forbidding himself, if you'll notice, from getting benefit, general benefit. And so the Mishnah goes on to say, Mutar b'chilufehen u'vidulehen. So at that point, he's permitted with anything he exchanges for them, or with anything that grows out of them, providing. And there's a but. B'davar shezaro chaleh. He's permitted to what's exchanged for them, or what grows for them, with something whose seed ceases to exist. B'davar shezaro chaleh. This concept of a seed which ceases to exist, we've seen before actually in Terumah. And the example that the Ramban brings, the Maimonides brings, is something like a seed of wheat. So you plant a seed of wheat, and more wheat sprouts out from it. But that original seed is gone. It ceases to exist. Nothing of it is left. Maybe biologically, I don't know whether biologically there is something left in the earth, but as far as the casual observer is concerned, you get a new wheat plant out of the wheat seed, but that original seed has gone. There's no connection. And that's the situation where the Mishnah says what is exchanged for them or what grows from them, it is permitted if the seed ceases to exist. But it doesn't work the other way. But with something whose seed does not cease to exist. Well, can you imagine, for example, you could plant an onion, you could plant a carrot, and the carrot sprout, or a potato, and the carrot sprouts out, and the onion sprouts out. And in the case of the potato, it's even more interesting because the potato is going to start creating lots of other little baby potatoes. And it does this without destroying the original thing you planted, that original potato you planted, that original carrot you planted, or onion you planted is still there in the ground. It's still sprouting up all of this kind of stuff. And I think from the point of view of the Mishnah, what grows from it is still connected to the original object, which you swore not to eat. There's an unbreakable connection. And that's why the Mishnah says, if the seed doesn't cease to exist, if that onion is still sitting in the ground, gidulei gidulin asurin, even the sproutings of its sproutings are forbidden. So, for example, you could sprout a potato from a potato and then plant it and sprout another potato, and all these sproutings remain forbidden for your eating just as much as the original fruit. And the Mishnah, having taught this idea, is now going to repeat it. It's going to be a carbon copy Mishnah. But now we're talking about a wife, not a fruit tree. Someone says to his wife, the kunam ma'aseh yadach alai, the work of your hands is like a korban, it's like a sacrifice. Kunam heim lefi, they are like a sacrifice to my mouth. Kunam hein alpi, they're like a sacrifice on my mouth. What's the situation? Asur b'chilufehen uvigidulehen. And so what is exchanged for them, or what is grown from them, is forbidden. He hasn't referred to eating or drinking specifically. And interesting, by the way, he hasn't used the expression these. In the previous Mishnah, he said perot ha'elu, these fruits. Now, he is specific, of course, about the fruits, because he says your ma'aseh yadecha, the work of your hands. So maybe the specificity works in that way. Maybe that's the parallel. And the Mishnah rules asur b'chilufehen uvigdulehen. What grows from them, what is exchanged for them, is forbidden. He's forbidden himself from all benefits from this produce. And then, just as our previous Mishnah taught, if he just refers to eating and tasting, sheni ochel, sheni toem, I just make a vow on what I eat or what I taste. Mutar b'chilufehen uvigdulehen b'davar shezaro chale. What is exchanged for them or what grows from them is permitted if it's a thing whose seed ceases to exist. It's a carbon copy of the previous Mishnah. But if the seed does not cease to exist, if it's like this famous onion or potato that's just sitting in the ground and producing more and more and more onion leaves, scallion leaves, or potatoes, gidulei gidulin asurin, even that which grows out of its sproutings, the sproutings of the sproutings, that's the best way of putting it, the sproutings of the sproutings become forbidden.